I watched Kevin's hand hover over my wine glass for exactly 3 seconds. 3 seconds that would change everything. We were standing on the terrace of the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco, 200 guests inside celebrating our company's 30th anniversary, and my business partner of 10 years had just slipped something into my drink. The fog was rolling in off the bay, and Kevin didn't see me in the shadows near the stone pillar. He thought I was still inside, working the room, shaking hands with the investors who'd flown in from New York for tonight's announcement. Our merger with Pacific Technologies was supposed to close next week. $50 million. My retirement plan. The legacy I'd spent 3 decades building. But Kevin Chen had other plans. I'm 65 years old. I've survived cancer, a divorce, the dot-com crash, and the 2008 financial crisis. I built Martinez Consulting from nothing, working out of a 1-bedroom apartment in Oakland, cold calling companies until my voice gave out. You don't survive that long in Silicon Valley without developing instincts. And right now, every instinct I had was screaming. Kevin smoothed his tie, glanced around the terrace one more time, then walked back inside. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see him laughing with Sarah Chen, my CFO. No relation to Kevin, despite the shared last name. She'd been with me for 15 years. Loyal, competent, everything Kevin was pretending to be. I stayed in the shadows for another moment, my heart hammering against my ribs. The wine glass sat on the marble ledge where I'd left it, a custom crystal flute etched with our company logo. Kevin had been so careful, so precise. A small white packet, torn open and emptied. He'd even taken it with him, but he'd made one mistake. He didn't know I'd stepped outside to take a call from my daughter. He didn't know I'd seen everything. My phone buzzed. Emily, my youngest, checking in. Dad, how's the party? Did you give the speech yet? Not yet, sweetheart. About to head back in. You sound weird. You okay? 26 years old and she could still read me over the phone. Just thinking about your grandfather. He would have loved this night. He'd be proud of you, Dad. Now go wow them with that speech. Love you. Love you too, Em. I hung up and looked at the wine glass. Then I looked through the windows at Kevin, chatting animatedly with the investors, his face the picture of concern and professionalism. He was younger than me, smarter in a lot of ways. MIT grad, MBA from Stanford. When I'd brought him on as partner 10 years ago, everyone said I was crazy to give up 40% equity to someone I barely knew. But Kevin had connections I didn't have, energy I didn't have anymore. I thought we were building something together. I thought wrong. The terrace door opened and Tom Williams stepped out, our head of operations, 62, ex-Navy, and sharp as they come. Boss, they're ready for your speech. You good? Tom, you see Kevin out here a minute ago? Yeah, he was looking for you. Said he wanted to make sure you had your wine before the toast. Tom's eyes narrowed. Why? Come here. Look at my glass. Don't touch it. Tom had been in naval intelligence before joining the private sector. He leaned in, examining the crystal flute without getting close. There's residue on the rim, powdery. That wasn't there when you filled it, was it? No. You think, I know. I saw him do it. Tom's jaw tightened. We need to call the police, right now, and tell them what? That I saw my business partner maybe put something in my wine? He took the packet with him. It's my word against his. I picked up the glass carefully, holding it by the base. But I have a better idea. You remember where Kevin's seat is for the toast? Front row, next to you on the dais. His wine glass is already on the table, right? Same crystal? Same logo? Tom's eyes widened. Boss, you can't be serious. I spent 30 years outmaneuvering competitors, Tom. I'm not about to let a snake in a suit take me down at my own party. I started walking toward the door. Come with me. If this goes wrong, I need a witness. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, white orchids on every table. Our company's logo projected onto the walls in soft blue light. 200 people who'd helped build Martinez Consulting into what it was today. Employees, clients, investors, friends. My daughter Emily had flown in from Boston. My son Marcus from Seattle. My ex-wife Linda was even here. standing near the bar with her new husband. We'd made peace years ago, all of them here to celebrate, none of them knowing that Chen was trying to murder me. We moved through the crowd toward the dais. Kevin saw us coming and his face lit up with that billion-dollar smile. "Robert, there you are. I was getting worried." He handed me a glass of wine from the table. "Here, I kept yours safe for the toast." I looked at the glass. Same crystal, same logo. But this wasn't mine. This was his. I'd bet my life on it. "Thanks, Kevin." I took the glass from his hand, making sure our fingers touched, making it personal. "You're always looking out for me, aren't you? That's what partners do." His eyes were sincere, warm. If I hadn't seen him poison my drink 5 minutes ago, I would have believed him completely. "This is your night, Robert. 30 years. That's incredible. Couldn't have done it without you." The lie tasted bitter. Well, the last 10 years anyway. Tom positioned himself at the edge of the dais, his phone in his hand, recording everything. Kevin didn't notice. He was too focused on me, on making sure I drank the poisoned wine. The MC tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, if you could take your seats, Mr. Martinez would like to say a few words." The crowd settled. I stepped up to the podium, still holding the wine glass Kevin had given me. My wine glass, the one he'd poisoned, was in my other hand, held carefully by the base. I set them both down on the podium, side by side. Kevin's face flickered. Just for a second. He knew something was wrong but couldn't figure out what. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began. My voice was steady, strong. 30 years of pitching to clients had taught me how to perform under pressure. 30 years ago, I started this company with nothing but a laptop and a dream. Many of you have been with me since those early days. You've seen the struggles, the victories, the close calls. Applause rippled through the room. I smiled, nodded, let it wash over me. "Business partnerships are built on trust," I continued. "When I brought Chen on board 10 years ago, I trusted him with 40% of this company. I trusted him with client relationships, with strategic decisions, with the future we were building together." Kevin was smiling, but it was frozen now. "Trust is everything in our business," I said, "which is why it's so devastating when it's broken." The room had gone quiet. I could feel the tension building, but I didn't care anymore. If Kevin wanted to play games, I'd show him what 3 decades of experience looked like. I picked up one of the wine glasses. Kevin's eyes tracked it. "We're about to toast to the next 30 years, to new partnerships with Pacific Technologies, to growth, to success, to the future." I held the glass up to the light. "But before we do, I want to tell you all a story about what I saw on the terrace 15 minutes ago." Kevin stood up. "Robert, maybe we should." "Sit down, Kevin." The command in my voice surprised even me. Kevin sat. "I saw my business partner," I said slowly, clearly, "add something to my wine glass when he thought no one was watching." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kevin's face went pale. "That's insane, Robert. I don't know what you think you saw, but—" "Tom," I called out. "Play the video." Tom had been recording from the moment we entered the ballroom, but he was smart enough to play along. "Yes, sir." He held up his phone, making a show of it. Of course, there was no video of the terrace, but Kevin didn't know that. Kevin's hands were shaking. "This is ridiculous." "You're having some kind of breakdown, Robert. The stress of the merger, maybe. Here's what's going to happen," I interrupted. "We're going to toast, you and me, to partnerships." I picked up both glasses, walked down from the podium, and stood directly in front of Kevin. "I'm giving you a choice. This glass, or this glass." I held them both out. "You choose first." The room was dead silent. Kevin looked at the glasses, at me, at Tom with his phone out. His throat worked as he swallowed. "I don't, Robert. This is crazy. Just tell me which one is yours." "That's the thing, Kevin. I honestly don't remember anymore. We were both so busy tonight, glasses everywhere. So let's leave it to chance, shall we? Partners share everything, right? Including risk." Sarah Chen stood up from her table. Mr. Martinez, what exactly are you suggesting? I'm suggesting, I said, keeping my eyes locked on Kevin, that my business partner tried to poison me tonight, and I'm giving him the opportunity to prove me wrong by choosing one of these glasses and drinking it. Right here, right now. Kevin's hand reached out, trembling. He touched one glass, then pulled back, touched the other. His forehead was beaded with sweat. Or, I said quietly, you can refuse, and I can call the police. Have them test both glasses. See what we find. You're bluffing, Kevin whispered. There's nothing wrong with either glass. Then drink. He grabbed the glass on the left. My original glass, the one I'd seen him poison. For a second, I thought he might actually do it. Might actually drink poison rather than admit what he'd done. But his hand froze halfway to his lips. I can't, he said. His voice cracked. Robert, I can't. Why not? Tears were streaming down his face now. Because I put GHB in your wine. 2 full doses. Enough to make you pass out during the speech, look drunk or sick in front of all the investors, ruin your credibility, kill the merger. The words tumbled out in a rush. Pacific Technologies doesn't want you, Robert. They want the company. I've been talking to them for months. They promised me CEO if I could get you out of the way. Full control. Everything. The room erupted. Shouting. Gasps. People pulling out phones. Sarah Chen was already on her phone with building security. Tom had moved behind Kevin, blocking his exit. I took the poisoned glass from Kevin's shaking hand and set it carefully on the table. Tom, make sure no one touches that. Sarah, call the police. And someone get me a clean glass of wine. I looked at Kevin. This man I'd trusted, elevated, believed in. I'm still giving that speech. The next hour was chaos. Police arrived. Paramedics took the wine glass as evidence. Kevin Chen was led out in handcuffs, still crying, still trying to explain. The investors from Pacific Technologies were in the corner with their lawyers, faces ashen. Our merger was dead. Kevin had killed it himself. But I gave my speech anyway. Short, simple. 30 years in business teaches you many things. The most important is this. Trust your instincts. Verify everything. And never, ever, drink anything you didn't pour yourself. Awkward laughter from the crowd. Martinez Consulting will continue. We'll find new partners. Better partners. Partners who understand that integrity isn't negotiable. The applause was thunderous. Tom found me later, after most of the guests had left. You were gambling, boss. What if he'd chosen the clean glass? What if he'd actually drunk it? He wouldn't have. I saw his eyes when I gave him the choice. He knew which glass was which. I loosened my tie. Besides, I had faith in 30 years of reading people. Kevin's smart, but he's not brave. Brave people don't poison wine glasses. They compete face to face. The police are saying the GHB was enough to knock you out for hours. If you'd drunk it during the speech, you would have collapsed in front of everyone. Ambulance, hospital, the whole thing. Your reputation would have been destroyed. That was the plan. Make me look weak, unstable. Let Pacific Technologies swoop in, install Kevin as CEO, push me out with a fraction of what the company's worth. I shook my head. 10 years. I trusted him for 10 years. You want to know the worst part? Tom handed me his phone. Sarah ran the financials. Kevin's been embezzling for the last 18 months. Small amounts, hidden in operational expenses. He needed the merger to go through to cover his tracks. When Pacific Technologies took over, their audit would have blamed you for the missing money. The number on the screen was $2.3 million. He was going to destroy me, I said quietly. Frame me for embezzlement. Ruin my reputation. Take my company. But he didn't. Tom smiled. Because you were smarter. And because you trusted your instincts. I looked around the empty ballroom. The decorations were still up. The flowers still fresh. 30 years of my life, reduced to this moment. But I was still standing. Still in control. Still, the owner of Martinez Consulting. My phone rang. Emily. Dad, I'm watching the news. Are you okay? They're saying Kevin tried to drug you? I'm fine, sweetheart. Better than fine. I'm safe. I can't believe it. Kevin seems so nice. We had coffee with him last month, remember? He asked about my job, my apartment, everything. That's what makes betrayal so effective, Em. The people who hurt us are usually the people we trust most. I walked toward the terrace where this had all started. The fog had cleared. The bay was visible, lights twinkling across the water, but we survived. That's what matters. You survived because you were paying attention, Emily said. Because you saw him. What if you hadn't been on the terrace? What if you'd missed it? I'd been asking myself the same question. Then I'd be in a hospital right now, and Kevin would be giving interviews about how tragic it was that I'd had some kind of episode. How the stress of the merger had gotten to me. How he'd do everything he could to stabilize the company in my absence. I paused, and in 6 months, I'd be gone. Bought out. Forgotten. That's terrifying. That's business, honey. At least, that's business when you let the wrong people in. We talked for a few more minutes. Then I hung up and stood alone on the terrace. The wine glass was gone, bagged as evidence, but I could still see Kevin's hand hovering over it. Could still see the white packet disappearing into the liquid. 3 seconds. That's all it took to almost destroy 30 years of my life. But it also took 30 years of experience to recognize those 3 seconds for what they were. To trust my instincts. To outmaneuver someone who thought he was smarter, faster, better. Sarah found me on the terrace an hour later. The police want a full statement tomorrow. They're charging Kevin with attempted poisoning, fraud, embezzlement. She handed me a folder, and I found this in his office. You should see it. Inside was a detailed plan. Every step Kevin had laid out. Drug me at the party. Make me look unstable. Use the chaos to convince Pacific Technologies to accelerate the merger. Install himself as CEO. Fire the senior staff, including Tom and Sarah. Sell off the company assets within a year. Walk away with $30 million. My name appeared once in the entire document, under obstacles to remove. He spent 6 months planning this, Sarah said. Every detail, every contingency, except one. What's that? He didn't plan for you to be smarter than him. I closed the folder. 30 years, Sarah. I've spent 30 years learning how to read people, how to spot lies, how to trust my gut even when my head says I'm crazy. I looked at her. You staying on? New partnership structure, different equity split. We'll rebuild without Kevin. Are you kidding? After tonight? I'm not going anywhere. She smiled. Besides, someone needs to make sure you stop accepting wine from people. From now on, I pour my own drinks. The next morning, the news was everywhere. Silicon Valley drama. Tech CEO catches partner in poisoning plot. Kevin's face was on every channel, being led into the courthouse in handcuffs. Pacific Technologies released a statement distancing themselves from the attempted merger. Our investors called to offer support, and I sat in my office. The same office I'd worked in for 23 years, and poured myself a cup of coffee. From my own pot, in my own mug, exactly the way I liked it. Tom knocked on the door. Boss, we've got about 50 interview requests. What do you want me to tell them? Tell them Martinez Consulting doesn't negotiate with attempted murderers. Tell them we're looking for a new business partner. Tell them. I paused. Tell them trust is earned over decades and destroyed in seconds, and we're only interested in the former. Kevin Chen pleaded guilty 6 months later. 8 years in federal prison for attempted poisoning and fraud. His lawyers tried to argue stress, pressure, mental breakdown, but the evidence was overwhelming. The plan in his office, the embezzlement, the recordings Tom had made, the wine glass with my fingerprints and his GHB. 8 years. It seemed like so little for trying to destroy my life, but I didn't need revenge. I needed to rebuild, and that's exactly what we did. Martinez Consulting is still here. 5 years later, we found a new partner, Rebecca Torres, ex-Google, brilliant strategist, and most importantly, someone who pours her own wine. We're bigger than we were before, more successful, more careful, and every year, on the anniversary of that night, I stand on the terrace of the Fairmont Hotel and look out at the bay. I think about the 3 seconds that changed everything, about the instincts that saved my life, about the 30 years of experience that taught me to trust those instincts. My daughter Emily asks me sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate Kevin for what he tried to do. I tell her the truth. I don't hate him. I pity him. He was smart enough to see the opportunity, but not wise enough to build something real. He wanted shortcuts, quick money, easy success. But there are no shortcuts in business. Not real business. The kind that lasts 30 years. The kind that survives betrayal and comes out stronger. The kind that pours its own wine and never, ever stops paying attention. Because in the end, that's what saved me. Not luck, not chance, but 30 years of watching, learning, and trusting that when something feels wrong, it probably is. 3 seconds, one choice, and a lifetime of experience that taught me how to survive both. That's my legacy. Not the money, or the company, or the success, but the lesson that you can't buy wisdom. You can only earn it. One day, one decision, one glass of wine at a time, and I'm still here. Still pouring, still building, still trusting my instincts, because they've never let me down.